power, whether red or blue. I could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.
Hey, good evening, fellow Texians. It's me. It's Daniel Miller, and it's Late Night Coffee Talk. It is that weekly decompress that really is just more about me than it is anything else, right? It's about me unwinding, decompressing when I get here to this little break point towards second shift, because as many of you are aware, I have many, many more hours of work to do. Texas independence is not going to make itself happen. right? What was it? We talk about Franklin all the time saying that you cannot be expected to be transported from tyranny to liberty on a feather bed. Well, you know, let's be honest. There's nothing featherbed about what it is that we do on the regular. So, that's why I'm here. It's late night coffee talk. It's when I get this cup of coffee, not like I haven't had, a whole lot during the day, and there's not a whole lot more, but we're going to have a cup of coffee. We're going to decompress. We're going to talk about events of the day. And, there's a lot, but tonight I've got a special guest, Mr. Chad Prather. We'll be talking to him here in a moment, but a little housekeeping before we bring him on. A reminder, if you are watching on the TNM's YouTube channel, Super Chat is active. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we go live. And for those of you watching on my YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe, man. We just launched that thing a few weeks ago and appreciate all of the subscriptions we could get. It's really nice to do. And of course, if you are watching us on Zuckerbook or Meta, right? Is that what he's calling it now? Facebook, Meta, whatever it is. If you're watching it over there, be sure to like, share, and comment. Helps us beat the algorithm. And of course, if you're on Twitter, do all of the Twitter things. Be sure to go ahead and share this thing. Since it became Twitter Live or whatever it is instead of Periscope, I just don't know, man. I'm kind of nostalgic like that. But you're also talking to a guy who still has a MySpace account. So, what do I know, right? So that being said, let's go ahead and tear off into it tonight. We're going to be here with you for the full hour, and I'm going to try to give as much time to have some banter with my guest as possible. And if you saw the preview on Twitter, it's the political cowboy meets the Archbishop of Banterbury, and we're going to have a great time. And of course, as always, chat is open. So if you are commenting, chatting in YouTube, whatever, it all aggregates. And Kara, yet again, I think third or fourth week in a row, she's grabbing those chats and she's going to be dumping them over here so I can answer questions, and we're going to be doing that. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on our special guest. You guys know him from his show on The Blaze, and of course, you probably watch him on YouTube. He is also a Republican candidate for governor, and oddly enough, tonight, he looks suspiciously like Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures. Let's give it up for Mr. Chad Prather. Hey, Chad.
Hey, Daniel. It's good to see you, buddy. Good to be with you.
Yeah, hey, look, sorry about the Ghost Adventures thing. People are going to be Googling that now. They're going to be looking and going, okay.
I'm going to have to Google it because I don't know who it is, so I have to check it out.
Oh, yeah, he's very dramatic. He's like the Jim Cantori of ghost hunting.
They asked me. I did some of those ghost hunter shows years ago. They had me come out and do different ones with the crews and hang out all night with them and go to all these creepy places. That's something I don't really want to do again, quite honestly. It's interesting.
I feel your pain because honestly, though, I don't know that any demon house could be worse than spending an extended amount of time in the Texas legislature when session is in.
Yeah, if any place is haunted, it's right there at the Capitol building. That's for sure.
Right. Well, look, we've already got people in chat asking about your book. Let me throw the graphic up there. There's your brand new book. Am I Crazy? So let's talk about your book a little bit, Chad.
That's awesome. Thanks for doing that. This the subtitle kind of says it all. An unapologetic patriot takes on the insanity of today's woke world. I've had it up to here with the whole woke mob and the cancel culture and the nonsense that is parading around as relevant these days. I've started affectionately referring to this book as my common sense guide to the end of the world, because we're in a terminal battle for culture. And we're seeing that. They're even calling it cancel culture. They're wanting to wipe you out, get rid of your voice, marginalize you, demonetize you, deplatform you, anything they can do to silence you. And they're throwing the weirdest and craziest stuff out there. So I just said, look, either I'm crazy or the whole world's gone crazy. And if you look around, I think the asylums are empty and the crazies are not only running the streets, but they're sitting in office creating the policies these days. So, I'm tired of apologizing or even being told I need to apologize for having a traditional sense of values. You know, I'm a white heterosexual Christian male that burns up the ozone in his diesel truck and has a dog in the back seat. And as you know, most of the time I'm wearing a cowboy hat. So the lefty lunatic progressives like to call me public enemy number one. I'm not bowing down to it, and I don't like having boots on the back of my neck, and I'm certainly not bending to monarchy or crazy tyranny, especially when it's run by morons. And so this book was kind of an outcropping of that over a couple of years. You know, there's some musings that I wrote over the last few years. So sometimes people read this book and they're like, well, you know, that's something that happened 2 years ago, but the principles still are the same. And it kind of arms people to get engaged in this common sense conquest. You know, why do certain people, these political morons that we're turning into celebrities? I don't care if it's Beto O'Rourke or AOC or, you know, name your person, Elizabeth Warren. And we're giving them a voice. It's kind of weird how we do that. Why do we do that? You know, why have we given in to the tyranny of media and, you know, all the crazy stuff that's out there? So it's a fun read. I wish I could have perforated the pages since the toilet paper shelves are bare. Well, it could have been a consumable book. You know, if you didn't like the chapter, you could just rip it off and use it as toilet paper. And that would have been a way we could have sold more books. But I don't recommend people do that with the Kindle version.
Well, look, there's probably there's one thing we know will not happen to the book, and it won't be on the penny shelf like Hillary Clinton's biography was, right? You know that was always a funny one to me, is when people you'd come across and you'd see that down on the bargain bin, you know, for like a nickel or whatever.
You know, the book sales, honestly, you know, people think that it's funny, the stuff that comes back to you. Like, people think you wrote a book to make money. You don't make money off of writing a book. You know this.
Oh, yes.
That's not, you know, I encourage people to buy the book because I want voices that tend to be marginalized, specifically the conservative voices. I think it's a good thing. Like my buddy Bryson Gray, you know, he's got the song, the Let's Go Brandon song that's been on the charts, Billboard, for the last 2 weeks. You know, keeps beating out Adele for the #1 spot. And it's like, at some point in time, you just got to stick it in the face of culture, you know, and say, you know what, we're still out here. We're still a voice. We're still relevant. And I've even had people who say that I'm running for governor in order to sell books, which is the dumbest, absolute most asinine idea I've ever heard in my life. I've always, you know, written. I've always tried to use words. I've got a tattoo right here on my chest. It's in Greek, NRK, Einha Logos, which is, of course, John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word. Words are everything to me. And, you know, they're the most powerful thing, really, as a tool. And so, you know, I'm thankful that at least for now, we still have a way to get our message out there, you know, and being able to have these conversations and have fun with it.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, we just flashed a comment up there, and I think they've since been banned. But I want to piggyback off of what you're talking about how lunatic the left is. So, because look, get that off the screen. I want that off the screen, because here's what I want people to understand. You've got people right now that are consistently troll our YouTube lives, right? And they love to put crazy questions in, and the entire purpose of that is so that they can get us canceled, right? I mean, it's the cancel culture. This is the warfare. It's weaponizing censorship is what it is. And so let me just be abundantly clear with anyone who's watching tonight. The bottom line is simply this: tonight, this is our space. If you don't like it, you can go pound sand. Your trolling will get you the ban hammer. And you know what I need, Chad? I need a literal hammer, a ban hammer. That would be so much fun.
You know, it's kind of funny. You know, I'm taking part. I'm sorry, in an event that's being held in Fort Worth. They do it all over the nation every year. This is the 3rd annual deal. It's a panel discussion with some people that are on the left that are solid thinkers, and some people on the right that are solid thinkers. And we try to get together every year, and it's open to the public. And we're doing it over at Ridgely Theater this Saturday there on Camp Bowie in Fort Worth. And it's a great thing to be able to sit down and have a conversation with people that maybe you don't agree with. But our founding fathers, when they wrote the documents, they wanted us to have discourse. They wanted us to have debate. They wanted us to have dialogue. They wanted us to have disagreement. I mean, if you look at even the writers of the Federalist Papers, they didn't agree with each other, but they had a common mission in goal. The problem is these days we can't dialogue and disagree because if something does, you don't agree with it, you can't just process it, filter it out, and move on from it. You have to cancel the person. You have to get rid of them, and you'll use any nasty method that you can to try to attack the messenger, right? And I always say, don't try to put out a fire by throwing water on the fire alarm. That's not the deal. We all have opinions. Some of us have very strong opinions, and it's amazing to me how people, they hate the idea that the world doesn't just agree with them, hook, line, and sinker. But it doesn't. And I promise you, you're going to be very disappointed in life if you go through it thinking that everything is supposed to bow down to you. And so, the outcropping of that ultimately is this cancel culture nonsense, and let's troll, let's attack. It really is. I did a study years ago on trolls. It's a Machiavellian complex. It really is a narcissistic, insecure behavior to go on and feel the need, because I even talk about this in the book, that one of the things that social media gives us, it gives us this false sense of authority and a false sense of fame, right? You've never commented on something where you weren't the expert, and then you think that by having this platform, you're supposed to, people are just supposed to just listen to you no matter what it is. These aren't the words. You read the tweets and you read Facebook comments and even YouTube chats. These aren't the words of the prophets and the priests and the kings and the philosophers. This is just average Joe sitting on his fold out, chair in the basement who's trying to kill time and get us and stir people up. Part of me thoroughly enjoys it. It's a sad reality, but it's it is something that it's the world we live in.
Sure, truth. And of course, in addition to all of those things that you listed, that put you in the crosshairs of the radicals, I think we can add TEXIT advocate to that list now, which only throw some logs on the fire. Now, it is one of those interesting things, and I know you and I talked about this when I was on your show recently. We talked about it, I think, off air. But the amount of support, the growth of the movement, the sentiment reaching a fevered pitch right now for people that are recognizing that Texas not only would be better off as an independent nation, but would be far better off, and that's the direction that we should go. Now, while you're out and about with your gubernatorial campaign, which we can talk about here in a moment, what are you sensing? How to walk us through that journey to get you to that point?
You talking about in regards to TEXIT, or
let's start about TEXIT.
Yeah. So for me, and you used a key word, advocate. I'm an advocate for it. 25 years ago, I grew up in the state of Georgia. People like to hold that against me. Yes, it is a fact. I was born in New Jersey. I can't help where I was born. I just happened to be where my mother was. My father was an engineer, and he was on a project in New York City when she went into labor. I couldn't help that. The age of 4 months, the ripe age of 4 months. So we moved to my mother's hometown of Augusta, Georgia, where I grew up, and then went to the University of Georgia. I was conceived in Texas, so I do hold on to that Texas DNA in that regard, pro-life guy. But 25 years ago, I used to come out quite often and go to a friend of mine, his ranch. We'd hunt. I said to a buddy of mine who was from the North Texas area, I said, the funny thing about you Texans, I said, y'all rather be Texans than Americans. And he just kind of looked at me real serious. And he said, don't push it. and I knew, like, I had kind of caught that spirit of Texas already of like, don't mess with us or you'll find out. Then when I moved to Texas, and I like to talk about in my public talks about how, Texas is a spirit, Texas is caught, it's not taught. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I began to realize that Texas is something very special. I always call it the humble arrogance that we have. That's everything's larger in Texas, but you know, we are humble about it, and we do help our neighbors, and we look out for each other. We work hard. We've got a great ethic here, and it's just a great culture, at least for now. But you know, I'm disappointed. You know, when I got into comedy and humor a number of years ago, I said I wasn't going to do political comedy. That lasted about 5 months. Then I said I was never going to run for office. That when I said that lasted about 6 years.
Right.
Had no desire to run for office in any way, shape, or form. And quite honestly, in my spirit of spirits, I still have no desire to do that. It's more of a conviction and a calling in that regard. But you know, the way I look at it, when you look at where we are, and I not only travel around Texas, when I talk about the TEXIT issue, and I talk about it everywhere I go, or people will ask me about it. You know, I'll throw a few things out there, and you see the heads nod. You know, you've done it. You've talked in enough places. You see the heads start nodding, and I'll ask them some questions, and they get pretty fired up. You know, and it reminds them how proud they are to be Texans, and how far the United States has seceded from us. You know, how DC has, and I remind people, we're not united at all. You're not united with California or Washington State or New York or Illinois or even Washington, D.C. So we're not the United States anymore. And people, they feign their shock and horror when I say things like that. But if they'll admit it, they know it's true. We're not united. You know, we might have some semblance of common rationale with about 20, 25 states that are out there. The rest are pretty much anathema. I mean, they are accursed. They've gone to liberal hell, and not just liberal, progressive hell. And so for me, I began to look at this thing, and I began to realize that, you know, throughout the centuries, throughout the millennia, people have reconstituted themselves. They've redrawn their constitutions. They've redrawn their boundaries, and their, you know, reestablished their leaderships and how they operate. And, you know, Montesquieu, the Baron de Montesquieu, he said that it's impossible, you know, and the founding fathers quoted Montesquieu almost like he was Jesus, like his words were written in red. And one of his concepts about a republic was that if you have a large mass of land, it's impossible to keep a republic because you can't have a centralized government. And that's the reason we have states. That's one of the primary reasons we have states, is because they knew that one centralized federal capital could not govern a huge landmass. That's why Rome started out as a republic and ultimately became an empire because they covered all of the known world. And there was no possible way to manage a republic in that regard. We started to get to that point now where the states have lost their rights and they're continually giving them up in a big way. They're bowing down to the overreach of the federal government, the unelected bureaucrats, the greed, the blob. I call it the blob. You know, everything it touches, the federal government and even state governments have gotten so big that they just consume everything, and they grow and they grow and they grow. At what point in time are we going to say enough is enough? You know, enough is enough. The states have lost their power. They've lost their sense of sovereignty. They've lost the significance of their statehood. They don't have actual leaders who are operating with delegated authority to represent the people who put them into office. And DC is operating. We still call ourselves a republic, but we're not operating as a republic at all. In fact, we're operating under tyranny in a big way. So for me, you know, that path of traveling, not only around Texas, but traveling, because that's what I do. I'm in about 35 states a year. And everywhere I go across the United States, people, they kind of look at me and they scratch their head and they're like, what's going on in Texas? Like we know what you're supposed to be doing, but what the hell's going on in Texas? Like, why aren't you guys really blazing the trail? Well, that's what we expect you to do. And I've heard people say, you know, why aren't you more like South Dakota? Why aren't you more like Florida? You know, of course, Kristi Noem didn't shut her state down. Ron DeSantis, we know, in Florida. And I'm like, I don't want to be Florida. I don't want to be South Dakota. I want to be Texas, right? And when we look at the rankings where we are, if statistically compared to other states, it's horrible across the board in the categories. And so I started saying, you know, at some point in time, we got to do something. We either have to use our size, leverage, economy, and power to hold Washington, D.C.'s feet to the fire. We're not doing that at all. We're bowing down to Washington, D.C. We're kissing the boot of the tyrant. or we've got to pull away. We've got to get to a point where we say that's enough. I mean, enough. Article 1, Section 2 of our Texas Constitution, we have the right to abolish that. I'm not suggesting another civil war. Nobody is in that regard. But this also is, to use your term, this is not a mother may I situation. We're not asking permission here. We're saying, no, you have abandoned this Republican government that the Constitution was built on, and you've gone so far off that we don't recognize you. Someone said, a great preacher said a long time ago, and this kind of fits. He said that it's possible that if you're leading someone, that you get so far in front of them that the people you're leading start perceiving you as the enemy. And I think that's what Washington, D.C., and in a big regard, even Austin has become for all of us. We're perceiving those elected officials as enemies. And we're at a point now where something's got to happen or we're doomed. I'm telling you, I give it a decade. If something doesn't change, Texas has a decade before we look like California. I mean, just like California.
Is this where I start sneaking this into the frame now? Hang on. Here we go. There we go. Oh, it's like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah. Well, and I carry that book with me. I keep a copy of your book in the truck with me. I travel all over the place, and it is kind of funny doing this campaign thing. I used to travel with a little more style, savoir faire. I used to we used to fly places or take a tour bus and stay in nice hotels. Now we're crisscrossing. We're going to every county in the state, and some of those places don't even have hotels. So we're driving. I got 2 plugs in my rear tire right now. I mean, we're everywhere, headed to Lubbock tomorrow, be there this weekend, Thursday and Friday. And you go to all these places, and I stop and I have conversations with people, and I love getting into those conversations and being able to pull your book out, and it sits there, and I just reference through it a little bit with some things. I say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And it's almost like witnessing to people with the gospel, it's not.
It's a tract.
Lord and Savior. Can I tell you about our Lord and Savior? Instead, it's like, hey, can I talk to you about the 2.5 million unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C.? So it really is an evangelistic mission in a big way. But I think, people look at this thing like it's a negative deal. It's not. It's the good news, right? Freedom is good news.
Freedom is good
liberty
news.
Is good news, man. And right now, what we're living is not good.
Well, look, it gets back to the point that you were talking about earlier, which is, how the United States has grown too big. And I think about the words of somebody I've mentioned on here a lot, people that have been around me for a long time, and the TNM know I talk about him a lot. But a guy named Dr. Thomas Naylor, he was a professor emeritus of economics at Duke University. He left Duke to go form the Second Vermont Republic under the idea that Vermont could leave the Union. The state that produced Bernie Sanders, had an independence movement, and the guy absolutely could not stand Bernie Sanders. But, that was one of the key things that Dr. Naylor always talked about, and he wrote about it in his book, Downsizing the U.S., called Politics of Scale. At some point, the size gets so big that how can you conceivably have governing communities of interest? And it's a fascinating study, and we can dive off into the weeds of that some other time, man. What I really need to do is just do one of these coffee talks, do nothing but read out of Naylor's books. I mean, it would literally be a great education, a great homage to a guy who is no longer with us, a man that I was very happy to call friend. But let's I tell you what, let me do this. Let me put a plug in real quick again for the chats. If you're just now joining us, I'm here with our special guest, Chad Prather. If you are watching on YouTube, look at that.
Yeah.
Chad without a hat. How often have you guys seen Chad without a hat?
I know. That's kind of shocking, isn't it? That's a lot of forehead right there.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir.
I grew up playing baseball, and I grew up in the equestrian world. We still have Prather quarter horses back home. Yeah. I grew up, cutting and reining. My uncle is still a judge and a trainer. I've always had a hat on my head. It's just a habit. It really is. When you got a forehead like that, it's best just to keep it on there.
Yeah, I don't have a forehead. I've got a 6 head. You understand? Yeah. That is the Greek blood coursing through my veins, sir. That this head was meant for a Greek fisherman's hat. But back to the business at hand. If you're watching us on YouTube and watching on the TNM's YouTube channel, Super Chat is active. If you could make a contribution over there, we sure would appreciate it. And of course, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Same thing goes for my YouTube channel. And then, of course, if you're joining us on Facebook, be sure to like, comment, and share so we can beat the algorithm. And then Twitter, do the Twitter things. Twitch, I don't know what you do on Twitch. My kids know what you do on Twitch. I don't know what you do on Twitch.
I keep joining social media platforms just to see what I can get canceled from.
Oh man.
I managed to most recently I managed to go to Facebook jail from Facebook jail. I was in it and they sent me to it from there. I guess it was bad behavior or something. I'm on some new ones though. They're getting some steam. Like Free Space is good. I just discovered Telegram. No, I discovered Telegram a long time ago. I just didn't understand the privacy settings. Now I'm back on there. Udu, YUDU. That was an outdoor space for social media. I know the owners of that. They're revamping now, just kind of be a general thing. It's hard. It is, because these guys spend $7 billion a year to keep Facebook what it is, right?
Oh,
Most of these people out, they don't have that kind of budget, but it's a battle. That's a real battle.
Man, we've had a very long and interesting history with Facebook and Amazon. As a matter of fact, if for those of you who want a little background on this, go over to the TNM's website at tnm.me and go to the news section and just do a search for Facebook. And you're going to find some articles there about everything that Facebook has done to us over the years, and specifically what Amazon did to my book. It was, and you'll be lucky if they don't do this to you, but they did some of the craziest things with the TEXIT book. At one point, they had when the hardback was still out, they dropped the price down to like $4, which blew Barnes and Noble and everybody else out of the water. And then they hiked the price up, and then they hid the book. And then the distributor said that they had never seen anything like it, and they had like 1 million SKUs with Amazon. Said that they had never seen anything like it, just over that little book. So. But anyway, make sure you go out. And it's a funny thing. If you go to Amazon right now, Amazon is recommending that they purchase your book and my book together.
Yeah, they do. After you came on my show, they kind of link people together on that. I'll tell you something, and we're going to get your book on this as well. Buddy of mine, he started a deal. We're actively involved with a thing called strictlypatriots.com. Strictly Patriots. And it's a shopping site for people who have patriot-owned businesses, basically. And then there's a book section that's for the home. There's there's all this stuff, apparel, you name it. But it's so my book's on there, and we got to get the TEXIT book on there as well.
Yeah, we'll talk to our buddies over at Defiance Press. They've got a ton of patriotic sort of phenomenal books. Matter of fact, you may know David Thomas Roberts, who owns Defiance Press. He wrote a book called The Death of Liberty, where he dug off into the origins of the income tax and the IRS and found out some pretty phenomenal things. We ought to get Dave on here sometime to talk about that, because that book, I mean, we all know the IRS is evil. Anyway, I digress, but everyone knows the IRS is evil, but I don't know the extent. I don't know if people understand the true extent and depth of how evil they are. Their origins, their mission, everything else. Okay, so I was in the middle of the deal. So I'm going to remind everyone, we are aggregating your questions in the chat and the comments, and Kara is moderating and throwing them over here. She wanted me to absolutely embarrass that person earlier for that hideous troll comment.
I hate that I missed it.
Oh yeah. Well, it happens. We have this. One of the things that is always hilarious to me is when the trolls get on there and they think we're just going to let it fly, right? They just think it's funny. So, okay. So I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's take some questions. Are you down? Okay, here we go. This is for you, Chad. Why are other gubernatorial candidates ignoring the sincere discussion of TEXIT?
I don't know. Look, for me, and that was something I was alluding to earlier. I don't know that I made the point so clear, but when I'm traveling around Texas and I talk about TEXIT with citizens, by and large, most people, they go, yeah, that's right. We are Texas first. And they want Texas sovereignty. And I think they want Texas nationalism. And they do feel screwed by Washington, D.C. So for me, I don't know why we're playing the political semantic game in regards to this. Washington, D.C. is not representing me and my family. I don't. Listen, I want the government to leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
Anybody that's a conservative, a small government, responsible conservative, that's what they want. Why are we continuing to bow to this? So I don't know why the other candidates don't do that. I don't know if it's a way of playing it safe in some regards. I'm not in their head. I don't know. But my thing is, if the people of Texas want to vote on this, then I'm advocating for it to be on the ballot so they can.
Sure.
If we want to dedicate a day in Texas that is to celebrate pink unicorns sometime in May, and enough people in Texas say we want to vote on this, then by God, I'm going to advocate for that to be on the ballot. Now, the difference between the pink unicorns and TEXIT is I actually believe in the mission of TEXIT. I've seen what independence does. I don't know what unicorns do. I know what independence and freedom does. It's not an easy road. It's a battle. It really is. It's a battle of minds. It's a battle of thought, conversation, dialogue, and discussion and debate. It's a battle. In some cases, it's a literal battle. But freedom's worth it, And so I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for them. I just know that from my perspective, it's important to address it. And I don't believe that you solve problems by being politically correct. And I'm certainly not. I think that for them, they just don't see that we've gotten far enough where that is an issue yet. Senator Huffines, who has consistently said, give me 2 years. And let's see what we can do. Maybe. I just don't know that we're at that point. And so we'll see what happens. We'll see how they come out on this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. This is a good time to mention that on Sunday night, starting at 7:30, the TNM is going to be hosting a virtual town hall with 3 of the gubernatorial challengers. Chad will be there. Don Huffines will be there. Alan West will be there. It will be a virtual, so we will all be here. Yours truly will be moderating, taking off my lieutenant governor candidate hat and setting it over here to the side and playing my role as the president of the Texas Nationalist movement, which I will never, somebody asked if I was going to leave the TNM to run for lieutenant governor. I was like, that's not required. I watched Nigel Farage run for office about a dozen times as the leader of UKIP. So if he can make a go of it, I don't have a problem. And I drink coffee, he drinks tea, but that's a whole other differentiator. But
they call biscuits.
No, I know. Yeah, it's weird. I got friends, man. We got this. We have a gentleman on our advisory board named George Constantinides, and he was a regional organizer for UKIP before he left to go to the Brexit Party, now the Reform Party. And we have some pretty interesting conversations about Texas versus the UK. It's pretty hilarious. But that virtual town hall is going to be Sunday night at 7:30. We're going to be taking your questions. All 3 will be there, and it's going to be a good time. We're going to have some real interesting conversations, and there will be some serious TEXIT questions. But I want to make it clear to whoever it was asking the question that this question has been posed to all 3 of you multiple times at multiple public town halls. And so there have been public answers to this. And so far, all 3 at a minimum agree that Texans should at least have a right to vote on it. I think it's the timetable that's in question and the level of advocacy for the issue. And Chad, you've been the one who's come out absolute, clear, unequivocal, saying, look, not only am I down for a vote, but I would vote for it and advocate for it. So for that, we appreciate that. I'm sure everyone in the TNM does too. But how crazy is it? And not crazy, but how let me ask it this way. Let me pause and ask it this way. From your viewpoint, how mainstream has the issue become that it is being asked repeatedly to the primary challengers for the sitting governor of the state of Texas?
So when we had our forum, I don't know that I'd call it a debate. Again, sometimes we say things and you just want to get up and say, "Yeah, ditto." Uh, it was interesting to me. I was actually encouraged in Decatur last week when the questions, you could usually have the usual suspect of questions. The border is always going to be number one. Property taxes, the energy grid. You're going to have these various things that are going to come up. But encouragingly enough, TEXIT was one of the main questions that was asked. So I'm seeing it more and more. 9 out of 10 times when I go out and I speak county to county, group to group, inevitably that question during a Q&A comes up. It's on the heart and minds. People, I always say you can skin a fox once, and after that it gets touchy. And I think we've been skinned enough times that we're a little bit raw. You look at these vaccine mandates. We've stopped using the V word because YouTube sucks.
Blah, blah.
Censoring show. So we call it the blah, blah. So in reference to the blah, blah, in fact, we actually had Google searches for the blah, blah was trending the other day. It was the number 4 most searched phrase, blah, blah. When you take these mandates that are out there, everywhere I go, people are saying to me, what do we do? How do we do this? How do we fight back? I had on my show tomorrow night, we had Tom Bogart, who is a Southwest pilot. He is the founder of the Southwest Freedom Flyers. They're fighting back, against these mandates, these employer-driven mandates. And it's just a reminder that we've given into tyranny, man. We've got federal government, state government tyrannies. We've got judicial tyranny. We've got educational tyranny. We've got big tech, big media tyranny. Now we've got corporate tyranny. We've got medical tyranny, so on and so forth. And people they don't see any way to get out from under it. We're in a fight. This is a fight. And at some point in time, something's got to be done about this. So yeah, people feel helpless.
Yeah. And
they're ready to do a lot of things to take back what's been taken from them.
Well, look, man, that's pure Article 1, Section 2. This is what we've been preaching since day one. And it's why Article 1, Section 2 is such a, it's kind of the banner that we march under. And it starts with those words: all political power is inherent in the people. And Article 1, Section 2 is very clear about that. Now, remember, those of you out there that are brand new to this, the power doesn't come from those words in the Constitution. That power comes from God Almighty, right? It's an inherent right. It literally says that it's an inalienable right in Article 1, Section 2. Just like the right to keep and bear arms, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all of those things, it's an inalienable right. But it says that all political power is inherent in the people. And so what good is having that political power if you don't exercise it? And when we're experiencing these levels of tyranny, whether it be on the federal side or the state side, like in all these various ones that you just mentioned, we ultimately have the not just the power to stop it, but we have the duty and the responsibility. And the fact of the matter is that people can come up with every excuse in the world. We don't have the money. We'll throw that out the window. You just got a truck driver who pretty much unseated the lieutenant governor in New Jersey, and he spent less money than or right around the same amount of money as the property tax relief that you were handed by our legislature, right? Less than a couple $100. Half of that he spent at Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. So don't tell me it's the money, right? It's not the money. So, and then, and then people will use the excuse, well, they'll steal the election. Well, sometimes you just got to go out there and overcome the margin of theft, right?
Yeah.
You got to do the thing, because let me tell you, the opposite side has absolutely no qualms. They have no problems organizing and getting off their butts to go vote. Yeah, it's maybe difficult for us because we have jobs, right? We have things we have to do, but they seem to manage to go get it done. They seem to manage to be able to open their mouth with no fear of repercussion. And we have to walk and speak boldly and unapologetically and without reservation or hesitation. Otherwise, what good is it to have all political power if you don't exercise it?
Yeah. I want to steal that phrase, organized marginal theft. That was the phrase. I want to steal that. I'm going to use
Oh,
that.
yeah. Look, let me tell you where that came from. That came from State Representative James White. When I ran for state rep back in 2012, I was working on my little formulas for how many votes I needed to accumulate. I thought I'd left all of that behind in college calculus or whatever. But I was working on the form, so I called him up and I said, James, I said, help me understand this. Really, what should I be targeting? Because, it was a one-man campaign at that point. And he said, look, whatever number you come up with, he said, the thing you got to understand is you have to win beyond the margin of theft. He said, that's your target. You can go 50% plus one, he says, but you got to go beyond the margin of theft. And even then, if you think about it, what James was telling me is that you're running in a Republican primary against ostensibly a Republican, and the threat is that it will be stolen from you in 2012, right? So that speaks to not just how long this voter integrity issue has been an issue, but also that it's not specific to a particular political party.
I like that a lot. I was actually talking about that this morning. That's been my thing here recently is, everywhere I go, people say, well, we don't want to vote because our vote doesn't count and stuff. And I say, well, if we overwhelm the polls, they can't, it's not Spinal Tap. They can't turn the knob on the algorithm up to 11.
Right.
They've got a limitation. We saw that in 2016. They didn't. And listen, people can come at me and say, oh, you're saying, listen, they've always meddled in elections. Always, both sides. They didn't turn the algorithm up high enough, and Hillary Clinton was supposedly a shoo-in. They didn't think they needed to with Donald Trump. They turned it up too high in 2020. If we overwhelm the polls, we're going to continue to expose them for the frauds that they are, and they are frauds. But to all of that, this thing, like when you get to a point, just the sheer fact that you get to a point where you don't trust that your vote is going to matter or even be counted or to be validated, we're losing and doubting, at least bare minimum, doubting at the biggest point, losing our faith in one of the greatest institutions and privileges that we have as a free man. And that is your vote, your say, your word, your tally. That's a horrible thing. That in and of itself tells you that by and large, people out there do not trust Washington, D.C. or the federal government. They don't. They don't trust big government. They don't believe in it anymore. So why are we going to continue to quite honestly kowtow to them? And that's the nice way of saying it. Why are we going to continue to bow to them and allow them to dictate to us these things that do not represent us? Here's the thing, Daniel. It doesn't matter. Like for me, people are like, I love people who say, well, you can't win. Based on whose assessment? Now, you just brought up the truck driver. Based on political, career politicians, based on that model, based on spending tens of millions of dollars to get elected into an office. Greg Abbott is consistently bragging about having a $55 million war chest. He's really probably got more like 80 million. But 55 million probably polls better. I don't know.
Man, his campaign, Chad, his campaign has a retirement plan. If you examine his Texas Ethics Commission reports, he literally has 401k contributions for his staff.
Here's the thing that we're dealing with right now. I mean, you have to get signatures to get on the ballot. Now anybody in today's political climate is going to go, you don't have to get signatures. You just buy them. You just pay for that, right? I mean, well, no. See, where we're coming from in my campaign is I'm like, no, we're going to get the signatures. We're going to get the signatures. Now, to get 5,000 qualified legal signatures that they're, because Texas Ethics Commissions and their legal teams and Abbott's legal teams, they're going to pour over those petitions and those things. And they're going to say, this one doesn't count. Can't read this one. We don't know if this is legitimate or not.
Right.
And so basically, you got to get about 20 or 25,000 petition signatures to get 5,000 that count, right? So what we're doing is, like, you can go to Prather2022.com. We even have a resource page where you can download the petition page, print it off, put your name at the top, and you can go around and then you send them in to us by December 3rd. We're encouraging people to go out there and get those things, because I'm trying to prove how crooked, or just show people again at every level how crooked this stupid system is, because the guy that's on the inside, the incumbent, doesn't want any challengers. And they're going to stack the cards against you to make sure that everything you do is going to be suspect, including just getting citizens of Texas that are legal registered voters to sign a petition. They'd rather you pay, what is it, like $3,750, I think, to get on the ballot. Then you got to pay another, I don't know, $6,000-7,000 to get the petitions. I mean, so what? You're looking at $10,000 just to get on the ballot. If you don't do that, that is not what I believe this idea was established on. So we're fighting back on that and doing all these things. What I was going to say a little while ago is what I've seen, I can't unsee, Daniel. Like, it doesn't, like, whether I win or not, I'm never, like, you hate me now. Wait till I'm off the leash when I don't have, these guys to play nice with, or the, the ethics commission that's looking at me and want to penalize me because I have a sign that the word "for" isn't, small, isn't, smaller than it is, and they want to fine me for that. I mean, this is the stupidity that's out there. I'll never go away, man. I'm going to be a burr in the saddle in Texas politics for the rest of my life. And you know what? That doesn't include, and listen, no disrespect to the people who go down there and testify, during the leggy and all that stuff. I'm talking about opening people's eyes. I'm talking about holding people's feet to the fire and opening people's eyes and getting those light bulbs to turn on and making sure they know what in the hell is going on in Austin, because it is ridiculous.
Well, and that's, and I think that is what people need to understand. I mean, I can imagine, given your background, I mean, I'm, I have probably about the same kind of non-traditional route to run for office, a little bit different path, but still a bit non-traditional. And I can imagine, I mean, I told the guys on here last week about how already coming out of the woodwork, right? Criticism from consultants and political establishment types about what I say, what I wear, how I say it. And it's like, look, I'm not going to change who I am. Right. Yeah. That's not going to be it. I'm going to tell it to people straight. And I'm going to tell you, that's what, honestly, the people of Texas don't want politicians anymore. They want people that will tell it like it is and will actually listen, as opposed to patronizing them, which is what we get. This is why we get these politicians that campaign one way and govern another way. And I think the people of Texas are sick and tired of it. I think we have compromised and equivocated our way into that line in the sand moment in our history. We're on one side. If it continues to go as it is, there won't be a Texas here in 50 years or 100 years. And so it's incumbent upon us to take our destiny into our hands right now. And if it matters to us, then we're going to go out there and we're going to just pour out our blood, sweat, and tears and get the job done, no matter how hard it is. I tell people all the time with the TEXIT petition, if you told me that I had to crawl through a half mile of roofing nails naked to Austin and eat a bowl of cat crap when I got there, I would just tell people, all right, well, give me a map and a spoon, right? If that's what I had to do to get a vote on TEXIT, give me a map and a spoon. I'm there. I will do whatever is required of me to get the job done. And I think that's the mindset that we've got to adopt. It's you look at Travis's letter. He didn't sign, he signed it victory or death. He didn't sign it, victory or until something else better comes along or until I get too busy or it becomes too uncomfortable. Right. I mean, it's the Alamo. It's not a convenience store. And that's what people need to understand is that we're going to have to do it. We can't let the neo-Marxists outwork us. We can't let them outthink us, outwork us. We have to go out there and we got to get the job done. So I'm just, look, let me just say this in the final few minutes and then we'll let you get out of here. I wish we could have taken more questions, but this is a decompress, right? This is my weekly get on here, drink coffee, shoot the breeze. But let me just tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you publicly advocating for Texas and for TEXIT. And I'm looking forward to sharing this journey with you all the way to independence.
Well, you are my favorite modern revolutionary, Daniel. You really are, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your insight, and I appreciate your friendship. And it's we're on an interesting journey, right? I always say reluctant candidates are the best candidates, but at the end of the day, we're doing it because we're men of conviction. There's something that's burning inside of us, and our conscience is somewhat seared with a truth that we just can't let go of. And when we see it violated, we have no other choice but to step up and carry that mantle. At least try to, and push forward by God's grace. And I just, I keep going back to the adage I'm saying everywhere I go that Texas is not the Texas that most Texans think it is anymore. And that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. And, I referenced the Boston Tea Party in 1773. I say it's time to have an Austin Tea Party because you have a government that's no longer representing the people and violating us in a very, very large way to the point of tyranny. And I want that to go away. I do. I'm running on one idea alone, and that is let's get government out of our lives. And if they don't, then we got to do something about that. We've got to do something about that. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, man. And I always appreciate your voice and everything you guys are doing, especially at TNM. The Texas Nationalist movement, they're faithful to show up and they're passionate folks everywhere I go. I love visiting with them. That's the kind of folks we need, quite honestly. Those are the patriots I'm talking about that are going to make a difference and get this thing back on track.
This is my family, Chad. I love these people dearly. I have never, I would put TNMers against any people in any movement anywhere in the world at any point in history.
Yeah.
All day, every day, twice on Sundays. So look, I appreciate your kind words, man. Go ahead and tell everybody, I just flashed up there your website, but go ahead and tell everybody where they can connect with you more, where they can get copies of your book.
Sure. Yeah. Prather2022.com, of course, is the campaign website. It's got our resources, our events, got some policies. We're going to be directing that a little bit. Through this holiday season, I'm going to be taking the time to really fleshing out a lot of things because it's going to heat up. We still have a long run with the redistricting and the legal battles that are going to happen. This is not a March 1st thing that's going to happen. We've still got a long way to go.
Hey, wait. Yeah. Okay. So, but I'm going to interrupt you because I want to get your hot take on that. All right. So I've got what I believe is probably going to happen, but I'd like to hear your take. How do you think the lawsuits are going to pan out? How do you think that's going to affect the filing window and the primaries? Because I get this question all the time.
Well, it's going to push the primaries probably June at best. I'm kind of betting on like an August, probably. The further it can be drawn out, the better it is for a guy like Abbott. The better it is for these establishment hacks that are in there. And let me just throw in this one thing that I decided yesterday. I've known it for a long time, but yesterday's election in Virginia really proved it, as well as what's going on in New Jersey. The Republican establishment across this country is dead, and it does not need to be revived. It's dead. People are sick to death of it. I mean, it's the same monster as the other side as well. But let me just say, these guys, this redistricting and so many, there's some good guys. And I was going to say a lot. There's not a lot. There's a couple of good guys that are not going to run again, or they're going to get districted out. It's a bad thing. I heard on the wind that Jeff Kaysen was probably going to join the Democrats actually in one of the lawsuits. It's not a good thing that's going on here. But the legal battles that are going to happen, they're going to benefit the power that's in there. And, once it's all said and done, it's going to push those things further and further out. It protects the establishment. That's my opinion. Just like having these special sessions in the legislative deal, it just gives Abbott more opportunity to campaign on the taxpayer dime and keep himself in front of the media. So it's the snake, man. It's the monster.
Well, look, man, it's, redistricting years are always interesting. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I wanted to get your hot take on that. And hey, here's the silver lining. If they delay the filing window, they virtually guarantee that the TEXIT question will be on the primary ballot. I mean, it all but sinks the 8 ball. So,
yeah. And there's no accidents, right? There's no accidents. So I still believe in the providence of God. I really do. But yeah, praythrough2022.com. I'm headed out. I'll be at Lone Star Shooting Sports in Lubbock tomorrow night. Always good to have a gubernatorial candidate surrounded by people with guns, right? So we're going to be at the range and hanging out there with some good patriots in Lubbock. And then I've got a show Friday night at the beautiful Buddy Holly Theater. I don't really do any shows anymore. Live shows. I've got one this month and 2 Christmas shows next month. So live entertainment is virtually dead for me. It's all campaigning and, of course, the Chad Prather Show. But if people want to get the book and just kind of tune into what I'm doing overall, watchchad.com, watchchad.com. We're about to launch chadprather.com, which will redirect to a new blog site we're doing. So we're pretty excited about that. But anyway, we're out there. We're definitely out there. We're stirring it up. And like I say, man, we appreciate donations. If folks want to give, we certainly – we make a dollar go. We can make a dollar go what these other guys are making $10,000 stretch into. We can stretch with a dollar. It's amazing what we're able to do in legitimate grassroots, which is politispeak for say we're broke. But that's okay. We're proven you can still financially be broke. And I'll say this in hush. Why are you going to trust a guy that's going to spend tens of millions of dollars to get in office? When he gets in office, he's going to spend your money like that too. These guys that are spending all this money to get elected doesn't make any sense. That's the same thing they're going to do when they get that office.
Which is exactly why everyone should go out right now and write Abbott's campaign a third party out of town post-dated hot check.
There you go. Hey, listen, I love ideas like that. That's why I tell people go to beto22.com. It still comes to my website.
Look, I'm all for sending in these establishment politicians' contributions and expired Applebee's coupons, just to eat up their postage. All right. Well, Chad, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again. I think we're going to talk about, I think I'm going to be on your show again sometime. I think that was.
Yeah, you're coming. Yeah. You got an open invitation all the time, but let's schedule that. I'd love to get you on, if not late December, late November, December. Let's get that done before the end.
That'll be fun. We'll get on there. We'll have a shadow puppet competition, dad jokes, all kind of stuff.
Yeah. Love it.
All right, man. Appreciate it, Chad. You have a good evening, man. Thank you again.
Thanks, man.
Okay, folks, there was Mr. Chad Prather, and I want to thank him so much for coming on tonight and joining me for Coffee Talk. And guys, this has been a lot of fun. I had a guest. I told you we were going to have guests. It was going to happen, and there's a lot more coming up along that too. So hopefully you guys got to hear what you wanted to hear, and it's good decompress for me, man. Normally, it's just me on here carrying this and reading off your questions in the chat, and not tonight. So it was nice not to have to do all the talking for a solid hour. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I literally have been drinking coffee the whole time. It's called Coffee Talk, and I got to drink coffee, unlike last week at the hotel when I forgot my coffee. Terrible. Just a reminder, if you want to go check out, man, I've got a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of on the road. Go to tnm.me/events. That's tnm.me/events. You can find all the upcoming. And of course, if you head over to my website at danielomiller.com or texansformiller.com, just hadn't changed the title yet. Head over there, find out more about where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing, more about the campaign, and sign up, volunteer, make a contribution. Definitely would appreciate that. And again, you heard me mention the petition campaign. If you need to know more about the petition, head over to tnm.me/petition. Learn everything there is. Look, we're in the final stretch, right? We set an internal cutoff of December the 1st. The actual cutoff is right at the filing window. And so you literally have about a month to get your signatures, to go sign the petition, get the petition signatures, help us collect, help us hit the goal. If you want a vote on TEXIT in 2022, you will do those things. You will not only sign, but you will help us collect signatures. And then finally, if you want to join the fight at a level where we're going to go out there and I'm running under this effort. The last I heard, there were about 57 candidates so far that are in process of being on the Take Texas Back campaign. Head over to tnm.me/run for office. Join us in the fight. As a matter of fact, when I had a chance to glance at chat, I saw some of our candidates over there, like Joshua Ham. Come on, join the fight. Don't make us run alone. If you heard it tonight, if they don't represent us in Austin, they can't represent us. So go out there. Let's challenge them all. Let's challenge every single one of them. Okay, and final reminder. Let me just go ahead and throw this up there one more time. Boom. Again, if you want to connect with the campaign, you want to connect with any of the things that we're doing, make a contribution, volunteer, head over to danielomiller.com. And with that, it is time to wrap this bad boy up. Next week, I believe that I'm going to be on the road for Coffee Talk. Remember, it's every Wednesday night at 9:30, and it's live. Let's see. Next Wednesday is the 10th. Nope. I have nothing on the calendar for the 10th. So I will be with you, but I will still be on the road. Maybe there is something on the 10th. I don't know. I can't really tell. But let's look at it. November 9th, Grayson County Conservatives. I'll be speaking there. And then the 11th, I'll be speaking in Waco. The 12th in Corsicana. And then the 13th, look, there is a fundraiser that's going on. And it's hosted by Paul Roby and some of the other folks in the TNM. There in the Waxahachie, so make sure you get over there. It's going to be at the Wes and Wendy Flanagan's Event Center at 320 Bells Chapel Road in Waxahachie at 7 o'clock. Barbecue fundraiser. You had me at barbecue, so that's good. So get over there, get your tickets now. It's on the website. Go check it out, danielomiller.com. All right, let me wrap this bad boy up. I am excited more than ever at the momentum and the push that we're making. Not just to make Texas free and independent, but to live up to the promise of those words, right? There is an uprising happening right now where the people of Texas are exercising that power that I spoke about earlier under Article 1, Section 2, right? We are reclaiming our power away from the political establishment that has done nothing more than give us hollow words, empty promises, and rhetoric. And now the people are rising up and they're saying, we believe in our power, in our political, cultural, and economic independence. We believe in the constitutional republic as a form of government. And we believe in the inherent rights of the people of Texas, that they are inalienable, inviolable, right? So we are on the march. We are larger than ever and growing every day. But you heard what I said when I was talking to Chad earlier, which is ultimately it is up to us to make this happen, to open our mouths, to share the word, to be unashamed and unapologetic about it, to not be silenced by the cancel culture that ultimately would seek to silence and destroy the principles that we hold most dear. So, with that in mind, We go out and we do what we must. We go out to win. We go out to claim victory in the name of those previous generations that sacrificed everything to give us a legacy that we must now protect. We do it for our friends and our neighbors and our countrymen here in Texas so that they can have an abundant life full of opportunity, one of liberty and freedom and independence. And we do so as an example to the rest of the world of what a free people what a free people can accomplish. To be a beacon to those people. And I say that, I got, oddly enough, I got choked up just then because I got to thinking about how I saw a report from one of our volunteers out there, and I can't call who it is, so forgive me. But while they were out collecting petition signatures, they ran into some people from Canada. And the people from Canada were excited about TEXIT and what Texas was doing with independence and the inspiration and hope that it provided those people, how they lit up. That description, that is the example that we can set if we set our mind to it and make it happen. So with that, I will wrap this up and leave you, as I do every week, with the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.
People in power, whether red or blue, they could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried.